guys back around the fourth row. They're down on the inside trying to jump the start. There's a lot of horsepower in the Camaros. They should lead into the first turn, and I think you're either going to see Vern Smith or Gene Felton take it.
Green flag. Green flag for the Kelly American Challenge. 45 minutes around this very tight 2.8-mile circuit. And Vern Smith jumps out in front, and Felton drops back to third immediately as the field works their way through the oval, the first turn, and into the second very tight turn, the one they call the hairpin.
What happened there, Bob, is Tommy Riggins was able to follow Vern Smith in his pole position right by Gene Felton. See, Tommy Riggins was down on the inside, and he's able to hold that inside position, go next to Gene Felton, and force Gene to the outside, which put Gene back into third.
Three cars, a veritable train, working their way through the slowest section of the course. Smith, Riggins, and Felton, nose to tail, around the Devil's Elbow. And when they get up on the back straight, they are really going to be hauling the mail down that long straight. It's banked as they get up on there, swings to the right, and then the long pond straight, which takes them down into the banking at the far end of the circuit. Vern Smith out in front. Those are all Camaros.
Those are Chevy Camaros. It's a pretty highly modified car, Bob. They changed the rules last year. There goes Gene Felton, moving back, showing Tommy Riggins, and by golly, I belong in second. That's where I'm going to be.
Felton's opinion is that he belongs in first all the time.
Right, that's for sure.
He just ran off of this series last year. This year he's had all kinds of mechanical problems that has kept him out of winner's circle every race but one. This is the next to the last race in the series, and Vern Smith is leading in the series, and he could clinch the season championship here at Pocono today. They've completed the first lap. 1 minute and 39 seconds. We'll get you the speed on that in just a moment. You can see these big, heavy cars really fighting their way around that oval first turn and driving into what is almost a W-shaped section of the course. Felton and Smith and Riggins, those three cars, 1, 2, 3. The leaders going up onto the back straightaway section of the course. Felton taking a little lower line through there than is Vern Smith. Felton closing down. These cars will draft down this long straight, Bergie.
Oh, yeah, they'll draft. They'll try and get right up behind each other. There's Gene Felton. There's the effect of the draft. He's able to pull up, pull alongside,
wheel to wheel,
down inside.
And away he goes.
Now you're going to see Vern Smith draft on Gene Felton. Now as they come around by us, you're going to see him come down the start-finish straight. I wouldn't be surprised to see Vern Smith drop down to the inside of Gene Felton and try and hold the inside line into turn one. Let's see if he can do it.
It is a cool, breezy day at Pocono.
Ah, there's a racing move.
Vern Smith may be content just to ride along behind Felton for a while. Not taking it easy particularly, but there is no lap prize money at stake here. And he can save a little bit of the car by just following Felton around. Looks like he bobbled a bit there because Felton opened up a couple more car links on him.
Well, if Vern Smith can follow right behind Gene, he puts a lot of pressure on him. And believe me, sometimes it's easier to be running second right on the tail of the leader. You put a lot of pressure on him. You force him to drive in a line maybe he doesn't want to.
Felton stretching it out there as they go through with the Devil's Elbow. That red Camaro is Riggins. There's Gene Felton. Gene Felton, the Georgian. He builds race cars. He has a parts company, and he also has a cosmetics operation. Gene doesn't look like the kind of guy who'd sell you face cream, does he?
That's for sure.
But he does. The white and purple Camaro out in front.
Gene Felton is really at home in these big cars. When you watch him drive and when you're near him on the racetrack, he's totally at ease. And the bigger the car, the more noise it makes, the bigger his smile. He just loves these things.
Especially here at Pocono, because he spends so much of the time on the tri-oval. And he is leaving the home straightaway, going into the infield section of the course. You can watch Felton's hands on the wheel, working it back and forth. Gene Felton, the leader.
Interesting situation here, Bob. These cars weigh a little bit over 4,000 pounds. They're coming down the straightaway, which is
by Vern Smith. We have about 30 minutes remaining in the 45-minute race. Vern Smith back out in front. They're going around one of the slower cars. That appears to be Nick Vicione in a Hornet.
You know, Bob, there's an interesting thing that can happen from a driver's viewpoint that we're not aware of. I'm not saying that this did happen. However, sometimes if a driver can't get away from another driver and he's hounding him, he'll think, okay, I'll follow you for a while, and I'll put the pressure on you. You know, if you can get the other guy to make a mistake and spin, you can get a pretty easy win. Right now, both those guys are working hard, so maybe Gene thought, okay, Vern, I'll let you down and let you go by me, and we'll see what happens.
One of the problems you can get into, though, if you run too close behind, that's
really good racing.
Marvelous racing.
Vern's down below the white line. That shows that car handles pretty well. When you can drive him down there.
Oh, little wiggle there.
Now we've got a little slower traffic. I think they'll split this car.
We're coming up on Lynn St. James, I think it is. No, that's not Lynn. Check that. Handle that slower car with no particular problem. That is where Smith took over the lead 1 lap ago.
That was Pauline in the Oldsmobile Cutlass. Paul did what most drivers will do. He'll see the fast guys coming up behind him. He'll hold position. If he moves one way or the other, it creates a problem. They know they can go around him, but if he darts to one side or the other, that's the one thing they don't expect.
But when they were coming down that home straightaway, side by side, Lee probably didn't know where to go. The Camaros are coming. The Camaros are coming. Smith, about 5 car lengths on Gene Felton. Vern travels very light. He has, in some races, he has a crew of about 2. He may pick up 1 or 2 persons at whatever circuit they're at. And these guys help each other. A couple of races back, he cut a tire, had to come into the pits, and Craig Carter's crew helped them change the tires. They changed 3 of the 4. The one they didn't change 2 laps later went flat. But there is a considerable amount of back and forth helping of one another in this and almost every kind of racing. Here goes Felton again. Again, they're wheel to wheel. Oh, he took him with ease that time.
You can see the effect of drafting. You can get behind that car and it'll suck you right along. Gene is able to draft him, but after he goes by, he can't get away.
They're going to go at it like this for the whole 45 minutes, I suspect. So what a finish we are going to see. Felton's car running very, very strong. Now that's interesting.
Yep.
I didn't think that could be done side by side through that turn. I know it can't be done through the hairpin. And they're coming up on Paul Gentilossi in an Aspen. Should catch him here in this chute in the S's before the next turn. Maybe not. Two Camaros just going at it.
Paul moves over to the outside, lets the 2 guys go by on the inside. He doesn't want to mess up that race.
They can't draft on the slow section of the course. Drafting just isn't a factor. They're not going fast enough. Look at Smith bend the back end of that thing around. And here comes Felton again. Now Felton's closer to him coming off there than he had been before. This is just power. That wasn't a draft. That was just power getting off the turn. Got the better bite, and here comes Smith. And there goes Felton.
You know, Bob,
and here's
if this race stays like this, you're going to see 2 guys in the victory circle with grins from ear to ear, because this is what the guys come here for. This to them is a lot of fun. They're going fast. It's a little bit scary, but because they're race car drivers, they like this. This is great.
Just over 25 minutes remaining in this Kelly American Challenge at Pocono International Raceway. Little bumper tag. Here comes Smith. There goes Felton. Across start finish and into the first turn. They call that the oval turn at Pocono. Smith seems to be able to ride a much lower line through there, Bergie.
Well, I'm not so sure if there's a difference in handling or he's just trying to see where he can go. Remember, he's thinking ahead now about how Gene's car's handling. He's trying to size him up. Gene, when he's behind Vern, will try and size him up, because the race, if it stays like this, it gets down to the last 2 laps. Who can pass who? At that time, they forget about being friends.
Vern Smith again. Across the stripe, side by side into the oval turn. Sounds like something to drink. And Smith takes back first place. Vern Smith out in front of Felton again. These guys are ramping around like a couple of puppies.
Well, as Vern said a little bit earlier, if you can lead through turn one onto the infield, you're probably going to hold that lead all the way through the infield onto the oval. The trick is when you get on the oval, you've got to get enough lead so you can't allow the other guy to draft and then pass back on the oval.
And Felton seems to get off the last turn onto the tri-oval section with a little bit more bite than Vern Smith does. Felton seems to come off there quicker as he tucks his front end underneath the little spoiler in the back of Vern Smith's Camaro, and they are now out at the tri-oval. A little wiggle, a little fan dance there by Gene Felton. That cost him maybe a tenth. And now they go onto the bank portion. That's about 15 to 5-minute race. Vern Smith and Felton have taken turns leading since the race began. There have been no incidents in the race. A good, safe, careful, and fast drive by this field of American sedans. The Kelly American Challenge, a series which is growing both in its competitive aspects, its acceptance by the motor racing community, and I guarantee you by the fans. This is what racing is all about. Going at it wheel to wheel, good, clean, hard racing. Had to come into the pits, change a tire, got back out, and just managed to nip Carter at the wire for reasons we'll explain a little later on. Here we go again, side by side. And one of these guys will come away with a barrel of money. Felton and Vern Smith across the stripe one more time. We have about 17 minutes remaining in the race. Felton in the purple and white Camaro, and Smith's all white. Both of these guys do almost all of their own work in preparing the cars, and obviously they do all their own work at racing event. Quite a job at that. A beautiful setting for a motor race on a beautiful day. It's breezy, but the breeze will not affect these cars. This is Gene Felton, who won everything last year. I mean everything. He won every pole but one. He won every race. Now Pete Harrison, Smith gets around him, so Vern Smith still trying to set his sights on Gene Felton. And closing up, and Riggins is staying with that battle as well as they go around the hairpin. That's Riggins' car, the yellow and red car, running in third place. What a drive by Tommy Riggins.
Tommy Riggins has really come back into the hunt.
Gene Felton still with the lead. Sports Center's sports news team works round the clock to bring you television's most comprehensive sports news program. 5 times a day, Sports Center proves itself the #1 source for scores, highlights, features, and commentary on the latest events in the world of sports. With updates throughout the day and a full hour of live sports news 7 evenings a week, Sports Center gives you up-to-the-minute sports information. Sports Center is an exclusive feature of your total sports network, ESPN. Gene Felton out in front, and we have less than 7 minutes to go.
That time.
The pressure is off this man considerably now, Gene Felton, except Gene Felton, the last race, I believe it was at Road Atlanta, was running very, very strongly. Looked like he had, I think it was second place locked up, and on the last lap, the fuel pump failed, and he did not finish the race. So you know what's got to be going through Gene Felton's mind with 2.5 minutes to go. We got Felton working his way into the S's in a car smoking up ahead of him, it looks like. So Felton's got to play pretty cautious here. Finish line.
Right about now, you hear all kinds of gremlins in the car. It seems like everything starts to break, and you hear noises that you never heard before.
Checkered flag is out and waving for Gene Felton of Marietta, Georgia. Felton wins the Kelly American Challenge at Pocono International Raceway.
I'd say that you have 2 guys that are really happy.
And Gene Felton has had so many problems. This is his second win. He won at Road America, or rather Road Atlanta, the last race. No, Tommy Riggins won the last race, and Felton won at Road America. But only his second win. He finished second in a race at Sears Point. So it's been a long year for the guy who just literally was the name of this series for the first 4 years of its existence. An impressive job of preparation and an impressive performance on the racing circuit by Gene Felton as Felton rolls down to Victory Circle. He was going to go back to the garage. Gene thinking, well, I did my job today. What the heck?
Great story on Gene Felton. His first IMSA win, 1973, in the Starlight race at Daytona Speedway. He brought out an old Pontiac, all covered with grease and dirt, put the thing on the pole. Other road racers like Peter Gregg said, that's impossible for Gene Felton to be on the pole. Your timing was all wrong. He took off, went into the turn the first turn, and led the whole race. People were going, who the heck is Gene Felton? Well, Gene Felton had come out of NASCAR racing, and he was good, and he's been consistently good. A hard driver, fun guy to race with, always smiling.
He started out the year in a Nova with a six-cylinder engine, figuring that the weight advantage would work, and it just didn't. And finally, he gave up and went back to the Camaro and the bigger engine.
There's that smile.
How sweet it is. He is truly a good old boy. Very unassuming. That's Connie Goodenough giving him a kiss. Connie is the supervisor of this series for Kelly Services.
We might even get a chance to see Gene's racing shoes. He drives in leather cowboy boots.
Craig Carter collects his third place money, and Vern Smith, that's Vern on the left in the brown racing suit. Gene Felton on the uppermost position on the victor's stand with the medal around him. Gene Felton celebrates the win. Let's go to Mike Brockman down in the winner's circle.
Gene Felton down here in the winner's circle. Gene, you look like you had a lot of fun out there.
Mike, it's the toughest 45-minute race I've ever been in. It's a super racetrack. We have the big track to run on. We have the infield to run on, and it's just a tremendously challenging race course. Of course, when you got 8 or 10 of these, you've got to go.
You and Vern had an incredible race. Looked like you made up for some bad times earlier in the year.
I think once again have gotten rid of some of the bad luck. I just hope it continues to last. Vern was pushing me really hard. We went just full bore the whole day. I don't think either one of us ever lifted anywhere we didn't really have to. We went into the banking down there just flat to the floor and held it all day long, it seemed like.
Gene, it was an incredible race. Terrific.
Okay, our congratulations to Gene Felton with the